The Galactic Council Station loomed against the backdrop of eternal night, a massive ring structure that rotated slowly around a central axis. Its gleaming metal petals caught the light of distant stars, creating an artificial flower blooming in the void. Inside the main chamber, delegates from 100 worlds shuffled into position, their varied physiologies accommodated by adaptive seating and atmospheric bubbles. Ambassador Threlix Kor straightened his ceremonial vestments, admiring how the silver embroidery complemented his vibrant green scales. As the senior Vidian diplomat, he had spent months preparing for this moment. The annual council convocation where major resource allocation proposals were presented and voted upon. His proposal, Operation Terra Siege, would cement his legacy and secure Vidian dominance for generations to come. "Nervous, Ambassador?" asked a junior aide, noting how Kor's scales shimmered with anticipation. "Merely eager," Kor replied, his voice a melodious hiss. "Today marks the beginning of a prosperous new era for the Dectian Armada and our Vidian allies." From the upper gallery, Captain Mira Santos of the Earth Federation observed the proceedings with practiced neutrality. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her blue uniform bore minimal decoration, a stark contrast to the ostentatious displays of most delegates. Beside her, Lieutenant Kellen Pierce fidgeted with his datapad, his fingers dancing across the surface as he monitored communications. "Anything?" Santos whispered. Pierce shook his head. "Still nothing from Earth Command. The quantum relay is experiencing the usual lag." Santos nodded grimly. It was standard year 5328, 50 years since humanity had made first contact with the wider galactic community. 50 years of careful observation, subtle intelligence gathering, and covert preparation for what Earth's leaders had always suspected would eventually come: an attempt to claim their resource-rich world. The chamber hummed as the Council Arbiter, a towering crystalline entity, floated to the center stage. Its voice resonated through the chamber, translated simultaneously into hundreds of languages. "The annual convocation commences. We gather in peace to address the great crisis of resources that plagues our civilizations. Many worlds suffer. Many species face extinction. We seek solutions that honor the Council Charter while alleviating suffering." Captain Santos watched as various delegates presented their proposals: mining rights for asteroids, terraforming of dead moons, harvesting gas giants. Most were reasonable, balanced approaches that distributed resources according to need. Then, Ambassador Kor glided to the center stage, his green scales catching the light dramatically. "Esteemed delegates," he began, his voice silky and confident. "For too long, we have nibbled at the edges of our problem, applying temporary solutions to a permanent crisis. Today, I propose a bold initiative that will resolve resource scarcity for at least 3 generations." With a gesture, he activated a holographic display. A blue-green planet rotated slowly in the air, Earth captured in perfect detail, oceans glittering and continents clearly visible. Terra, known to its natives as Earth, a Class M planet of exceptional fertility and mineral wealth, currently occupied by a primitive species that has barely mastered chemical propulsion. Low murmurs rippled through the chamber. Captain Santos felt her heart rate accelerate, though she maintained her neutral expression. Next to her, Lieutenant Pierce's fingers tightened around his datapad. "Operation Terra Siege," Kor continued, expanding the hologram to show orbital approaches and landing zones. "A coordinated extraction of critical resources with minimal disruption to the native population. The humans possess rudimentary spacecraft and basic defensive capabilities, but nothing that would pose a challenge to even our smallest battlecruiser." Dozens of council members flashed their approval indicators, green lights that dotted the chamber like fireflies. Santos and Pierce exchanged alarmed glances. "This is it," Pierce whispered. "The invasion plan we've been expecting." Santos nodded, her eyes never leaving core. Begin emergency protocols. We need to alert Earth immediately. As Core concluded his presentation with projected resource yields and distribution plans, a dignified figure rose from the middle tier. Counselor Vix Prime of the Arcturian Conclave, known for their scientific rigor and ethical concerns. Ambassador Core, Vix Prime began, their voice resonant yet gentle. Your proposal is certainly ambitious. However, I must inquire, how recently was your intelligence on Earth updated? Our records indicate limited contact with humans in recent decades. Core's scales rippled with what might have been irritation, quickly smoothed over with diplomatic grace. Our intelligence is comprehensive, Counselor. Humans remain a pre-warp civilization with limited orbital capabilities. Their military relies on chemical explosives and primitive ballistic weapons. They pose no threat to a coordinated Council operation. Santos leaned toward Pierce. He's working with outdated information. Earth hasn't publicly demonstrated advanced technology in 50 years. By design. Should we correct him? Pierce asked. Not yet, Santos replied. Let's see how this plays out. Try to access the podium queue. I need to address the Council. As Pierce tapped frantically at his datapad, attempting to hack into the Council's speaking order, more delegates rose to question Core. Most seemed skeptical about the ethical implications, not the feasibility. What of the Council's non-interference directive regarding developing species? Asked a gelatinous delegate from the Medullan sphere. Core spread his hands in a gesture of reasonableness. The directive applies to species with potential for imminent warp capability. Humans remain centuries from such achievement. Their technological progress has been remarkably slow. They still use fossil fuels and have barely established a permanent presence on their own moon. More green approval indicators flashed across the chamber. Santos attempted to access the speaker's platform, but her request was repeatedly denied on procedural grounds. Earth held observer status only, with limited speaking rights. This isn't working, she hissed to Pierce. Plan B. Send the alert to Earth Command. All channels, priority alpha. Pierce nodded grimly and began the process of bypassing Council communication security, his fingers moving with practiced precision across his modified datapad. Meanwhile, Core continued addressing objections with smooth confidence. The operation will proceed with minimal human casualties, he assured a concerned delegate. Resources will be extracted primarily from uninhabited regions. Any resistance will be met with precise, localized responses. No planetary bombardment. No mass extinction events. Ambassador Rix of the Lumari, a species known for their empathic abilities and commitment to justice, rose slowly. Their luminescent skin pulsed with blue concern. Ambassador Core, have you considered the possibility that humans may be more advanced than your intelligence suggests? Many species conceal capabilities for strategic advantage. Core's laugh was melodious and condescending. Counselor Rios, your concern is noted but unnecessary. We have monitored Earth transmissions for decades. Their global communications still use primitive electromagnetic waves. Their space vessels require chemical propellant. Their weapon systems remain kinetic or nuclear at best. They are simply not a threat. As the debate continued, Pierce succeeded in breaking through the Council's communications firewall. Message sent, he whispered to Santos. Encrypted and dispersed across multiple channels. Earth Command will receive it within minutes. Santos nodded, her expression grim. Now we wait, and hope Earth is ready. The Council debate continued for hours, with Core deftly handling objections and gradually building consensus. By session's end, a preliminary vote showed 67% approval for further development of Operation Terra Siege, with a final vote scheduled following a standard observation period of just 30 days. As delegates filed out of the chamber, Santos approached Ambassador Rix. Your concerns were well-founded. Ambassador, may we speak privately? Rix's skin rippled with cautious blue patterns. Captain Santos, I suspected you might seek conversation after today's troubling proposal. They retreated to a quiet alcove where Rix activated a privacy field. Ambassador Kor's intelligence is dangerously outdated, isn't it? The Lumari asked directly. Santos nodded. Catastrophically so. Earth has not been idle these past 50 years. I suspected as much, Rix replied, their skin pulsing thoughtfully. No species that achieved spaceflight as quickly as humans did would suddenly stagnate. The pattern is inconsistent with evolutionary development. Ambassador, I need your help, Santos said. Kor has the Council momentum. Even with accurate intelligence, the Dectian Armada seems determined to proceed. The Lumari cannot officially oppose the operation without more evidence, Rix said regretfully. But we can perhaps delay the final vote. Give your people more time to prepare. Any delay would be appreciated, Santos replied. Earth will be ready, but every day matters. As they parted, Rix's skin flashed a pattern that translated roughly as, may wisdom prevail where force fails. On Earth, President Alejandro Kim stood before the Emergency Defense Council. His usually calm demeanor replaced by intense focus. The holographic display showed Captain Santos's message, along with intelligence on the proposed invasion timeline. Ladies and gentlemen, he addressed the assembled military and scientific leaders. The moment we have prepared for has arrived. Activate Phoenix Protocol immediately. Admiral Eliza Chen nodded sharply. Fleet production is already at maximum capacity, Mr. President. The phase shard drives are performing beyond expectations in field tests. And the temporal weapon systems? Kim asked. Dr. Isabel Nakamura, head of the Quantum Weapons Division, stepped forward. The disruptors are combat-ready, sir. Limited field testing confirms they can age shield technology into structural failure within seconds. The quantum torpedoes are also performing as designed. They exist in multiple timelines simultaneously, making them impossible to track or intercept. President Kim surveyed the room. 50 years ago, when we first encountered the galactic community, we made a critical decision to appear technologically stagnant while secretly preparing for this inevitable day. Some called it paranoia. Today, history vindicates our caution. He turned to Communications Director Takeshi Yamamoto. Implement worldwide information protocols. The public must be prepared without causing panic. Yes, sir. The Celestial Shield public narrative is ready for deployment. We'll frame this as a precautionary exercise, while revealing enough truth to ensure cooperation. As Earth mobilized its hidden defenses, Lieutenant Pierce continued monitoring Council communications from the station. He intercepted transmission between Ambassador Kor and Fleet Admiral Zarn of the Dectian Armada. The Council approval is proceeding as expected, Kor was saying, his scales now a smug, deep green. Prepare your fleet for deployment within 28 standard days. Admiral Zarn, a massive reptilian with scarred battle armor and cybernetic enhancements, growled his acknowledgement. My armada stands ready. Ambassador, 150 warships, including 30 Planet Cracker cruisers. These humans will surrender the moment we enter their system. Remember, Kor cautioned, the Council has approved resource extraction, not extinction. Minimal casualties. Zarn's laugh was harsh. Of course, Ambassador, we shall be surgical. Pierce immediately forwarded the intercepted communication to Captain Santos, who was meeting secretly with a growing coalition of skeptical Council delegates. 150 warships, Ambassador Rix repeated, their skin paling to a worried white. Far more than necessary for a minimal intervention operation. Kor is lying to the Council, Santos confirmed. This isn't about resources, it's about conquest, with Earth as the prize and humans as collateral damage. An avian delegate named Trill clicked her beak nervously. We cannot stop the vote. Kor has too much influence, and many worlds are desperate for resources. We don't need to stop the vote, Santos replied. We just need to ensure that when Admiral Zarn arrives at Earth, he receives an appropriate welcome. Over the next 3 weeks, as the Dectian Armada assembled at their staging area near Jupiter's orbit, Earth completed its final preparations. The Phase Shard Fleet, 100 sleek vessels that could momentarily slip between timelines, appearing to phase in and out of reality, was deployed in strategic positions throughout the solar system, their revolutionary drives rendering them invisible to conventional sensors. Dr. Nakamura personally oversaw the installation of temporal disruptors on the flagship Aegis V. "The physics are elegant," she explained to Captain Santos over a secure quantum channel. "We're not breaking natural laws. We're negotiating with them. The disruptors create a localized field where time flows differently, aging enemy shield technology until it literally crumbles into dust." Santos, now aboard the Aegis IV after being secretly extracted from the Council Station, nodded. "And the Dectians have no defense against this?" "None," Nakamura confirmed. "Their shield technology relies on energy field stability. When those fields experience centuries of temporal stress in seconds, they simply fall apart." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Pierce remained on the Council Station, feeding intelligence to Earth, while maintaining the illusion that Captain Santos was still present through clever, holographic manipulation. The final council vote was scheduled for the same day the Dectian Armada planned to arrive at Earth, a deliberate choice by Core to present the council with a fait accompli. As the day approached, President Kim addressed humanity in a global broadcast. Standing before the Earth Federation emblem, his expression was solemn, yet determined. "Citizens of Earth, for 50 years we have prepared for this moment. Since our first contact with galactic civilization, we recognized that our resource-rich world would eventually become a target. Today, an alien armada approaches with conquest in mind. Screens worldwide showed the approaching Dectian fleet, massive, dark vessels that blotted out the stars. But humanity is not defenseless," Kim continued. "While maintaining the appearance of technological stagnation, we have quietly revolutionized physics itself. Our Phase Shard Fleet stands ready. Our temporal weapons are primed. Today, the galaxy learns that humanity will not be conquered." As the speech concluded, Admiral Zarn's massive flagship emerged at Earth's Lagrange point, followed by wave after wave of Dectian warships. The Armada was a terrifying sight. Dark, angular vessels bristling with weapon ports and shield generators, arranged in a formation designed to maximize firepower while preventing any escape. Admiral Zarn himself appeared on all Earth broadcasting channels, his reptilian features twisted in what passed for a smile among his kind. "People of Earth," he rumbled, "your planet has been selected for resource extraction by the Galactic Council. Resistance is not merely futile, it is illogical. My armada could reduce your cities to ash within hours. Surrender your resource rights, and you may continue your existence under Dectian protection." In the council chamber, the final vote on Operation Terra Siege was interrupted by this transmission. Ambassador Core watched with satisfaction as Zarn delivered his ultimatum. Everything was proceeding according to plan. But then something unexpected happened. On the main view screen in the council chamber, a new image appeared alongside Zarn's transmission. Captain Mira Santos, standing on the bridge of a vessel unlike any the council had ever seen, sleek, with shifting geometries that seemed to blur at the edges. "Admiral Zarn," Santos said, her voice calm and measured. "This is Captain Mira Santos of the Earth Federation vessel Aegis IV. Your presence in Earth space constitutes an act of war. You are ordered to withdraw immediately." Zarn's laugh boomed through the chamber. "With what fleet do you intend to enforce this order, human? Our scans detect no vessels capable of challenging even one of my cruisers." Santos smiled. "About those scans, Admiral." At that precise moment, the human Phase Shard Fleet phased in throughout the Dectian formation. Ships materialized inside the Armada's defensive perimeter, behind the moon, above and below the flagship, appearing instantaneously in positions that should have been impossible to reach without detection. In the council chamber, delegates gasped as the holographic display updated to show the human vessels, 100 ships that had appeared from nowhere, their hulls rippling with strange energy patterns that made them difficult to focus on directly. "What trickery is this?" Zarn demanded, his confidence visibly shaken. "No trickery, Admiral," Santos replied. "Just physics you don't understand yet. This is your final warning. Withdraw or be annihilated." Zarn's response was predictable. "All ships, open fire! Destroy these human vessels!" Plasma beams lanced out from Dectian cruisers, targeting the nearest human ships. But instead of impacting, the beams passed through the vessels as if they weren't there at the moment of impact. Each ship seemed to flicker partially out of existence. In the council chamber, Ambassador Kor's scales had faded to a sickly yellow-green. "Impossible," he whispered. "They can't have developed phase technology. The energy requirements alone." "Evidently," Ambassador Reeks replied, their skin pulsing with vindicated blue patterns. "Your intelligence was somewhat outdated." On the battlefield, Santos gave the order. "Deploy temporal disruptors. Target their shield generators first." From the Aegis IV and its sister ships, strange, rippling waves of energy spread outward. Where they touched Dectian shields, the energy fields seemed to age visibly, first flickering, then developing spreading patterns like cracks in the ancient glass, and finally disintegrating into glittering dust. "Quantum torpedoes, fire when ready," Santos commanded. Streaks of brilliant light launched from human vessels. But instead of traveling in straight lines, they seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously, appearing and disappearing along their trajectories, impossible to track or intercept. When they reached their targets, they detonated moments before physical impact, creating explosion patterns that defied conventional physics. "Phase riders, engage at will," was Santos's final order. The smaller human interceptors activated their phase shard drives in combat mode. They flickered in and out of reality, appearing inside Dectian vessels, firing weapons that struck from multiple timelines at once, then phasing out before counterattacks could land. Within minutes, half the Dectian fleet was reduced to drifting wreckage. Admiral Zarn's flagship, targeted by multiple temporal disruptors, was torn apart from the inside out as different sections of the vessel experienced time at radically different rates. Metal twisted and sheared along temporal boundaries, creating a grotesque sculpture of destruction. In the council chamber, the holographic display showed the battle in excruciating detail. Delegates watched in horror as the supposedly invincible Dectian armada was systematically dismantled by technology they couldn't comprehend. Ambassador Kor's scales had faded to a dull brown, the Vidian equivalent of shock and terror. After 15 minutes of one-sided combat, the remaining Dectian vessels began to retreat, jumping to hyperspace in desperate, uncoordinated leaps. Some collided with debris or each other in their panic to escape. Captain Santos's voice rang through the council chamber. "Allow survivors to escape. They must carry word of human resolve to those who might consider similar foolishness in the future." The human vessels ceased fire, forming a perimeter around Earth as the last Dectian ships fled. The battle, if such a one-sided engagement could be called that, was over. On Earth, celebrations erupted in every city. President Kim addressed the population again. "Citizens of Earth, the invaders have learned the cost of underestimating humanity. For 50 years, we prepared in secret, developing technologies that our would-be conquerors dismissed as impossible. Today, those technologies have preserved our freedom." In an emergency council session convened immediately after the battle, Ambassador Kor stood trembling before his peers, his once vibrant scales now a mottled brown of shock and shame. "The Council demands an explanation," Ambassador Reeks stated, now leading a coalition of delegates who had opposed Operation Terra Siege. Your intelligence claimed humans were primitives with chemical rockets and ballistic weapons. Yet they just defeated the Dectian Armada, the most powerful fleet in known space, in 15 minutes. Kor's voice was barely audible. Our intelligence it appears to have been outdated. The humans have made unexpected advances. Unexpected, another delegate scoffed. They appear to have revolutionized physics itself while you weren't looking. The council arbiter floated to the center stage, its crystalline form pulsing with rare emotion. This body has been deceived. Operation Terra Siege was approved based on false information. The consequences have been catastrophic. At that moment, Captain Santos appeared via hologram, now formally representing Earth. Her uniform had changed, no longer the simple blue of before, but an elegant black with silver trim that seemed to shimmer at the edges, much like the phase shard technology itself. "Esteemed delegates," she began, her voice firm but not triumphant. "For 50 years, Earth has observed your council. We have watched as you debated which worlds to exploit, which species to subjugate in the name of resource acquisition. We recognized early that our resource-rich world would eventually become a target." She gestured, and a holographic star map appeared beside her, showing not just Earth's solar system, but dozens of others throughout the galaxy. On many, small Earth Federation emblems pulsed steadily. While maintaining the appearance of technological stagnation on Earth, we have established colonies throughout the galaxy, 73 systems at last count, all equipped with phase shard technology and temporal defenses. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions, accusations, expressions of disbelief. The arbiter had to employ a sonic dampening field to restore order. "Earth has not been isolated or primitive for decades," Santos continued when silence returned. "We have negotiated with the fundamental laws of physics while you were busy negotiating resource extraction quotas. We have developed technology that allows us to step partially outside normal spacetime, technology your scientists dismissed as theoretically impossible." Ambassador Kor finally found his voice. "Captain Santos, the Vidian hegemony, and the Dectian Armada formally petition for peace. We propose an immediate non-aggression pact and—" He was interrupted by a new hologram appearing beside Santos, a stern woman in a black uniform with gold trim. "I am Secretary of Defense Celine Ortiz of the Earth Federation," she stated flatly. "Ambassador Kor, your petition is denied." The bluntness of the response sent another wave of murmurs through the council. "Instead," Ortiz continued, "the Earth Federation proposes new terms. First, Operation Terra Siege will be permanently abandoned, and Earth recognized as a protected world under Council law. Second, any species facing unwarranted invasion will receive Earth's protection. Third, the Council will establish a commission to investigate corrupt resource allocation practices. And if we refuse?" asked a delegate from a world allied with the Dectians. Ortiz's smile was cold. "We have demonstrated our technological superiority. We have shown that we can appear anywhere in your territory without warning. Draw your own conclusions." After hours of heated debate, the council vote was unanimous. Operation Terra Siege was suspended permanently, and a mandate recognizing Earth as a protected world was approved. The commission to investigate resource allocation was established with Ambassador Riex as its head. In the days that followed, human ships began quietly patrolling strategic sectors throughout the galaxy. They appeared without warning to deliver supplies to worlds suffering resource shortages, mediated conflicts between minor species, and established a presence that was neither threatening nor ignorable. Ambassador Kor. His political influence shattered, but his position temporarily maintained to avoid further destabilization, found himself reflecting on the arrogance that had led to disaster. In a private meeting with Captain Santos before her departure from the council station, he asked the question that had been haunting him. How did we miss it? How did Earth develop such technology without our knowledge? Santos considered him thoughtfully. You saw what you expected to see, Ambassador. We broadcast old-style telecommunications and launched chemical rockets for your sensors to detect. Meanwhile, our real work happened in shielded facilities and within colonies too distant for your monitoring. But the physics, what you did should be impossible. Not impossible, Santos corrected. Just requiring a different perspective. Your scientists approach physics as a set of immutable laws. We approached it as a negotiation. Core's scales rippled with reluctant admiration. And now, what does Earth want from the galaxy? Peace, Santos replied simply. The opportunity to develop without threat of invasion. And perhaps, eventually, a council that allocates resources based on need rather than military might. As she departed the station, Santos transmitted her final report to Earth. The foolish notion of invading Earth is over. The galaxy must now learn cooperation or face human guardianship. Admiral Zarn, one of the few Dectian commanders to survive the battle, found himself exiled to a remote outpost at the edge of known space. His once glorious career had ended in the most humiliating defeat in Dectian history. As he stared out at unfamiliar stars, a transmission arrived, untraceable, encrypted, but unmistakably of human origin. The message was brief. The next time you consider conquest, remember Earth. We will be watching. On Earth, President Kim and his advisors gathered to assess their new galactic position. Dr. Nakamura presented data on phase shard drive improvements. We can now extend the phase duration to nearly 30 seconds, long enough to traverse half the galaxy in a single jump. And the weapon systems? Kim asked. The temporal disruptors have been refined to target specific materials, Admiral Chen reported. We can age metal while leaving organic matter untouched, or vice versa. Kim nodded thoughtfully. Power brings responsibility. We defended ourselves today, but tomorrow we must decide what kind of galactic citizens we wish to be. Will we use our advantage to dominate, as the Dectians would have, or will we forge a new path? Secretary Ortiz's response was immediate. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We defend against aggression without becoming aggressors. That is the Earthway. Lieutenant Pierce, now promoted to commander for his role in the Council intelligence operation, offered a more pragmatic view. The galaxy respects strength. We've demonstrated ours. Now we must show wisdom in how we wield it. As the meeting concluded, President Kim stood at the window, overlooking the rebuilt Earth Federation capital in New Geneva. The city gleamed in the afternoon sun, its architecture a harmonious blend of human traditions and alien influences adopted over 50 years of secret contact. For centuries, humanity looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone, he mused. Then we learned we were not alone, but also that the galaxy could be a dangerous place. Today, we have ensured that humanity will never be threatened with extinction again. He turned to face his advisors. And perhaps, in time, we can help create a galactic community worthy of our children's inheritance. At the Galactic Council Station, Ambassador Riex met with the newly formed Resource Allocation Commission. Their skin pulsed with determined patterns of blue and gold as they addressed the assembled delegates. The humans have taught us a valuable lesson, they began. Not just about the folly of underestimation, but about the limitations of our current approach to galactic governance. For too long, we have accepted conquest and exploitation as necessary evils in the face of scarcity. Holographic displays showed human ships delivering emergency supplies to drought-stricken worlds, escorting civilian transports through contested regions, intervening to prevent a genocide on a remote moon. The humans call their policy protected development, the radical notion that species should be allowed to evolve without threat of invasion or resource theft. They back this policy with unprecedented technological power. We would be wise to adopt similar principles voluntarily, rather than under human supervision. As the commission meeting proceeded, A small human vessel departed the station. Inside, Captain Santos reviewed the events of recent weeks with Commander Pierce. "Do you think it will last?" Pierce asked. "This new respect for Earth?" Santos smiled. "Fear of our technology will last. Respect must be earned over time. But we've made a start." "And Ambassador Kor, the Dectians?" "Kor will spend years rebuilding his reputation, likely by becoming the loudest advocate for council reform. The Dectians will lick their wounds and, perhaps, eventually, learn humility." Pierce nodded, then asked the question that had been troubling him since the battle. "We could have destroyed them all. Why didn't we?" Santos looked out at the stars, streaming past the viewport. "Because the point wasn't to replace one set of conquerors with another. Earth has no interest in ruling the galaxy through fear. We want a community of equals, eventually. And until then?" "Until then," Santos said, her expression resolute. "We stand guard. We protect those who need protection. We ensure that the foolish notion of invading Earth, or any peaceful world, remains exactly that, a notion too foolish to attempt." As their ship activated its phase shard drive, preparing to step partially outside normal space-time for the journey home, Santos added a final thought. "The galaxy believed us primitive because we hid our true capabilities. Now they know better. But there's still one thing they don't understand." "What's that?" Pierce asked. "That the technology we revealed today is already obsolete. Earth scientists have moved beyond even phase shard drives and temporal weapons. We showed the galaxy enough to ensure our safety, but not everything we can do." The ship shimmered, its edges blurring as it prepared to phase between timelines. In the last moment before transition, Santos smiled. "Let them wonder what else we might be hiding. A little mystery is a powerful deterrent against future foolishness." Then the vessel vanished, leaving only empty space where it had been, and a galaxy forever changed by humanity's unexpected power.